Scientists keep promising us the secret to eternal youth, yet somehow the only thing getting younger is our collective grip on reality, because apparently the path to glowing, wrinkle-free skin now includes smearing household condiments on your face, swallowing supplements that smell like a hardware store, and trusting influencers who look 22 because they are 22. It's wild. Somewhere along the way, self-care turned into a competitive sport where the prize is looking slightly less exhausted than usual. And if you think that's the strangest part, oh no. That was just the warm-up stretch. The real insanity is about to start. 1. Some people genuinely believed face yoga would reverse aging, as if contorting your face like a malfunctioning Pixar character could magically erase the last 30 years. I watched one influencer proudly pull her mouth into a lion snarl whenever she felt jaw tension, which, to be honest, looked less like wellness and more like she was baring her teeth at her own reflection. The idea is that exaggerated facial movements somehow tone the skin, which is adorable because science says the opposite. Repetitive motions actually cause wrinkles. So, congratulations. In trying to avoid aging, you've accidentally speedrun the distressed marionette aesthetic. But don't worry, the gurus insist it works. Sure. And if you flap your arms fast enough, you'll eventually fly to the fountain of youth too. 2. There was a brief moment in human history, one we collectively choose not to discuss, when people rubbed literal bee venom on their faces, because nothing says self-care like intentionally recreating the experience of being attacked by nature's angriest interns. The logic was simple. If your skin swells from inflammation, then technically you look plumper, in the same way a sprained ankle looks fuller. Yet people treated it like a miracle, even bragging about the burning sensation as if pain were some sort of elite beauty membership. Meanwhile, the bees are out here doing unpaid labor so Karen can feel lifted. And the funniest part? The swelling fades in hours, but the redness, irritation, and long-term sensitivity stick around like regret. Truly cutting-edge aging technology. 3. Then we have the legend of vampire facials, which is just a glamorous name for smearing your own blood on your face like a Renaissance art project gone wrong. The promise? Rejuvenation? The reality? You look like you lost a fight with a blender. People paid hundreds, sometimes thousands, to have their plasma painted on like they were canvases for a very confused medical student. And yes, some swore it made them glow, but that glow came from sheer terror when they saw themselves mid-procedure. A few clinics even got shut down for reusing needles because nothing says youthful skin like the risk of communicable disease. If the goal was looking younger by comparison to your aging fears, then bravo, pure success. 4. One of my personal favorites is the ice bath anti-aging hack, which is hilarious because the only thing crying out for help more than your nerve endings is your survival instinct. People dunk themselves into water cold enough to preserve dinosaur DNA, insisting it tightens their skin and resets their cells. Meanwhile, their body is entering the 5 stages of hypothermia, plus a bonus 6th stage called realizing this was stupid. Sure, athletes use cold therapy, but they also don't pretend it's a substitute for sunscreen. The best part? After the numbness fades, most people emerge from the tub looking less like radiant ice queens and more like they just survived a shipwreck. But hey, if you want to feel alive by feeling almost dead, this one's for you. 5. At one point, adults, grown, functional adults, convinced themselves that rubbing mayonnaise on their skin would reverse aging. Apparently, nothing hydrates quite like condiments. Someone probably saw eggs and oil on the label and thought, ah yes, skincare. Meanwhile, dermatologists everywhere collectively age 10 years just from the stress. The problem is that mayo doesn't moisturize. It clogs pores with the efficiency of wet cement. People proudly reported dewy results, not realizing that shine was literally grease. And then came the smell. Imagine trying to flirt only to realize you smell like a deli sandwich that's been left in a warm car. If aging gracefully isn't the goal, then aging disgustingly certainly is. 6. Let's talk about jade rollers, tiny decorative paint rollers for your face that somehow became a $50 million industry. People swear the little green rock drains toxins even though no one can define what these toxins actually are. But sure, drag a cold pebble across your cheek and watch as nothing happens. The funniest part is the marketing, which insists the stone must be ethically mined, as if the moral origin of your crystal will determine whether your fine lines disappear. The only real effect is temporary redness from rubbing your face like a lottery ticket. And ironically, some users press so hard they actually create wrinkles. Truly a masterpiece of modern consumerism, a tool that ages you faster in the name of anti-aging. 7. Then there's oil pulling, swishing coconut oil in your mouth for 20 minutes like you're auditioning to become a human salad dressing. Supposedly, it detoxes your body, whitens your teeth, and maybe helps your soul ascend. Meanwhile, the only thing happening is jaw fatigue and the creeping realization you could have spent those 20 minutes doing literally anything else. It's amazing how people who run out of breath climbing stairs can suddenly endure Olympic level mouth endurance training in the name of skincare. And let's be honest, the only reason your teeth look whiter is because the oil gloss makes everything shiny. If people swish WD-40, they'd declare themselves immortal. 8. And how could we forget the baby foreskin facial, which is exactly what it sounds like, a sentence that ages you just by reading it. Beauty clinics promoted serums made from discarded infant tissue, and customers lined up like they were buying concert tickets. Apparently, the secret to youth is moral discomfort. The irony is that most people who purchased it couldn't explain how it worked. They just heard growth factors and pretended they understood biology. All they really knew was that celebrities used it. And if celebrities jumped off a cliff, these same customers would ask for a VIP harness and a backstage wristband. The results? Mild redness, mild guilt, and a receipt long enough to wrap around your insecurities. 9. For a while, people tried urine therapy, claiming that applying their own pee to their skin would cure wrinkles. I want you to pause and imagine someone explaining this with a straight face. They'd say things like, it's sterile, which is exactly what someone says when they're trying to justify a terrible decision. The logic makes no sense. Your body is literally throwing that liquid away because it's waste. Yet some insisted it made their skin glow. Of course it glowed. They were embarrassed, and their friends were glowing too from the radioactive levels of discomfort. If humiliation were a skincare ingredient, this would be the gold standard. 10. Next, we have mermaid masks made from actual fish scales because apparently smelling like low tide is the new luxury. Fans claim the collagen from the scales absorbed into their skin, which is adorable because collagen molecules are too large to do that. But why trust science when you can trust the marketing team that also sells whale song-infused shampoo? The funniest part is that people applied it before dates, proudly announcing it gave them an oceanic glow. Yes, the glow of someone who has recently wrestled a tuna. If anything, the mask made them age socially. No one wanted to be within 10 feet. 11. Then there's derma rolling at home, which is when people take a spiky medieval torture wheel and drag it across their face like they're ironing a shirt. Professionals do this carefully with sterile tools. Enthusiasts do it in their bathrooms between brushing their teeth and checking Instagram. The goal is collagen stimulation. The result is often an accidental polka dot pattern of tiny wounds. Some users press so hard they scar themselves, then brag online about redness that proves it's working. No, it proves your pain tolerance is higher than your common sense. And nothing ages a person faster than repeatedly puncturing their face out of optimism. 12. One trend encouraged people to tape their faces at night, which is ironic because the only time you're supposed to look peaceful and youthful is during sleep, not wrapped like a hostage, The theory is that tape prevents wrinkles by stopping your muscles from moving. The reality is that most people wake up looking like they slept through a kidnapping attempt. And when the tape comes off, guess what? Your skin creases from the adhesive. Yes, the anti wrinkle method creates wrinkles. It's the beauty equivalent of setting your house on fire to improve the lighting. But believers swear it works, mostly because sunk cost fallacy is the strongest anti-aging ingredient known to marketing. 13. The oxygen facial trend claimed that blasting your skin with highly pressurized air would magically reverse aging. I love the confidence, as if the human face is a dusty keyboard that just needs to be power washed. Spas hype this treatment like it was NASA-grade science, when really it was just refined blowing. The irony is that oxygen actually dries out the skin, so people left feeling smooth for 10 minutes before turning into artisanal raisins. But they kept going back because the machine made futuristic whooshing sounds, and nothing says clinical effectiveness like mild wind and LED lights. 14. At some point, wealthy wellness fans decided that bathing in red wine was the key to longevity, proving once again that rich people's hobbies are indistinguishable from parody. They claimed the antioxidants would absorb into their skin, ignoring the irony that drinking the wine would have done more and cost less. Meanwhile, they soaked in purple liquid like they were marinating for a recipe. One woman even bragged she could feel the youth returning, which was probably just dizziness from sitting in fermented grape fumes. Her skin did look different afterward, stained. Nothing says vitality like looking like a human Merlot spill. 15. Finally, we have the sun-gazing anti-aging hack, which is exactly what it sounds like, staring directly at the sun to become more youthful, because nothing erases wrinkles like frying your retinas and giving yourself premature cataracts. Practitioners claim the sun's energy reprograms the cells, which is technically true if by reprogram you mean damages them permanently. Meanwhile, dermatologists screamed into the void, knowing full well that UV exposure is the #1 cause of aging. It's almost poetic. People looked for the fountain of youth and found the spotlight of destruction. If irony had a face, it would be squinting. 16. Somewhere in the anti-aging multiverse, someone decided that eating collagen powder by the spoonful would instantly rewind their biological clock, as if the body would see this random scoop of animal protein and go, "Ah, yes, youth has returned." I remember watching a woman stir it into her coffee like she was mixing a potion, swearing she could feel her skin tighten. Of course she felt something. She'd put chalk in her latte. The truth is, your stomach breaks collagen down just like any other protein, but people treat it like a backstage pass to immortality. And the funniest part, the same people taking collagen religiously are the ones refusing sunscreen, which means they're basically pouring foundation into a building that's on fire and calling it renovation. 17. Another favorite is the trend of using infrared sauna blankets, which are essentially adult-sized burrito wrappers designed to roast you until you glow. I tried one out of curiosity, and I swear I have never felt more like leftovers being reheated. Users claim it detoxes the skin, even though the only thing leaving the body is water and dignity. And when they emerge drenched in pink, they brag about feeling reborn, which is accurate only if your rebirth involves being sweaty, dehydrated, and mildly ashamed. The idea of heat-slowing aging is hilarious. If that were true, every rotisserie chicken would be immortal. But hey, if the dream is to age like a microwaved croissant, this is the way. 18. Then you have the anti-aging supplements that contain approximately 12 words no one can pronounce, but everyone insists are life-changing. People swallow these mystery capsules like they're auditioning to be lab rats, convinced each pill is a time machine in soft gel form. One friend bragged that hers contained marine peptides, which sounds impressive until you realize she was basically taking pulverized fish dust. She said she felt more youthful, though she also felt nauseous. I'll let you decide which effect was placebo. And the companies selling these supplements love adding vague claims like supports vitality, which is brilliant because vitality is a feeling, not a measurement. It's like selling a candle and promising it supports your emotional infrastructure. 19. Some folks actually tried microcurrent devices, tiny wands that send electric shocks into your face, because nothing says youthful glow like tasering yourself in the bathroom. The idea is that the pulses wake up the muscles, which, sure, if by wake up, you mean startle them into mild confusion. Watching people use these is hysterical. Every zap makes them twitch like they're experiencing tiny existential crises. My favorite part is when they insist it's non invasive, as if electricity doesn't count because it doesn't leave a mark. And after a month of daily zapping, they either look exactly the same or slightly more stressed, like they've been living near a haunted outlet. But hey, who needs aging gracefully when you can age electrically? 20. And then there's dry brushing, a ritual where people scrape their skin with a stiff brush in long strokes, claiming it boosts lymphatic flow and gives them instant radiance. In reality, it mostly gives them a rash and a temporary sense of achievement. I watched someone demonstrate it online, and she sounded like she was describing a sacred rite instead of exfoliating herself like a carrot. The best part is how believers insist. The redness means it's working. No, sweetheart, that's irritation, not enlightenment. Dry brushing is the perfect symbol of wellness culture, doing something uncomfortable, hoping for magic, and pretending the sting is spiritual. If discomfort alone reversed aging, travel economy class once and you'd come out immortal. 21. One of the most unintentionally hilarious trends was people drinking chlorophyll water, essentially turning themselves into human houseplants. Someone genuinely told me it oxygenates the blood, which would be adorable if it weren't biologically impossible. But people bought bright green bottles of liquid hope anyway, chugging them like they were photosynthesizing. Some even claimed their skin cleared, though they always whispered this with the energy of someone trying to convince themselves. The craziest part? Many ended up with stained teeth and green tongues, so they looked less youthful and more like they just finished eating mystical swamp slime. If becoming a Shrek extra is the price of beauty, go off, I guess. 22. There was also the trend of using micellar water as a full skincare routine. Yes, people replaced cleansing, moisturizing, and sunscreen with glorified makeup remover. They bragged about how simple and minimalist their routine was, which is usually code for I gave up. And when they developed dryness, irritation, or breakouts, they convinced themselves it was a detox instead of what it really was: negligence. I once heard someone say, my skin feels tighter. Yes, because it's dehydrated, not because you're Benjamin Buttoning. Calling micellar water anti-aging is like calling a nap a full vacation. Technically, it might help a little, but don't expect to come back looking fresh and renewed. 23. Then you have LED masks, the glowing, futuristic helmets that make everyone look like they're about to interrogate a droid. They promise collagen stimulation and wrinkle reduction, and sure, there's some science behind them. But the problem is that people use them while multitasking, scrolling, cooking, filming TikToks, forgetting they're wearing something that looks like a prop from a low-budget alien abduction movie. The results? Minimal at best, but believers claim their skin feels more alive, which is ironic because they look completely lifeless underneath that mask. And let's be real, if light alone reversed aging, indoor tanning salons would be temples of eternal youth instead of dermatology crime scenes. 24. And of course, someone decided that drinking bone broth daily would smooth fine lines, because when has boiling leftover skeleton parts ever not been associated with glowing youth? People sip it like it's a magical potion, talking about how their ancestors thrived on it, ignoring the fact that their ancestors also rarely lived past 40. And yes, it has some nutrients, but so does normal food. The funniest part is when people insist they can feel it rebuilding their skin, which is impressive considering the skin is on the outside and bone broth is in the stomach plotting its escape. If aging could be reversed by soup, Campbell's would have conquered mortality decades ago. 25. The egg white face mask trend still haunts me. People whipped egg whites into foam and smeared them onto their faces, proudly waiting for that tightening sensation. Of course it tightens. Egg whites dry into a human omelet crust. They claimed it closed pores and lifted the skin, which is scientifically incorrect but spiritually bold. And then they'd peel it off dramatically, acting like they'd just shed the weight of their past lives. The actual result? Slight temporary tightening, followed by dryness and occasionally salmonella if you were extra unlucky. If self-care involved smearing breakfast on your face, maybe it's time to reevaluate something deeper than your pores. 26. Some people believed sleeping with a humidifier next to their pillow would erase wrinkles overnight, like a moisturizing fairy would emerge from the mist and bless them. Instead, they woke up in a room that felt like an Amazon rainforest and hair that looked like it had survived a tropical storm. Humidifiers help with dryness, sure, but they're not mystical wrinkle erasers. One woman claimed she slept better because the air felt younger, which is a phrase so meaningless it should be studied. And when mold started growing inside the machine, she called it natural buildup, proving once again that wellness often walks a fine line between dedication and denial. 27. For a while, rice water became the holy grail of aging reversal. People soaked rice, kept the cloudy liquid, and splashed it on their faces like they were baptizing themselves into the church of carbohydrates. They said it improved elasticity and tone, and while it may have some benefits, the hype was insane. One girl even fermented hers because she read it was stronger, which explains why she smelled like expired sushi for an entire week. The idea that ancient traditions must automatically be magical is adorable. Ancient people also thought drilling holes in skulls cured headaches. Tradition is not inherently a flex. 28. There was also a surge of people putting castor oil on their eyelashes, eyebrows, and sometimes their entire face, hoping to grow hair and erase lines simultaneously. Castor oil is thick, like industrial lubricant with career ambitions, thick, and people would smear it on at night, glistening like glazed donuts. Some swore it made their wrinkles softer, ignoring the obvious fact that everything looks soft when covered in viscous slime. And yes, sometimes the hair grows, sometimes too well. One girl ended up with rogue eyebrow hairs migrating south, causing a dilemma no serum can fix. Anti-aging shouldn't require tweezers as damage control. 29. Then you have the crowd that swears by drinking lemon water every morning to alkalize the body, a concept that makes actual chemists age 10 years on the spot. Lemon is acidic, the opposite of alkaline, but facts rarely survive contact with influencers. People claimed it made their skin glow, which might be true if the glow comes from early-stage heartburn. One man said it changed his life, though he also admitted he used to drink nothing but soda, so the bar was underground. Lemon water isn't anti-aging. It's just hydration with a personality disorder. 30. Some folks tried gua sha on their entire faces so aggressively that they looked like they'd gone 3 rounds with a particularly delicate ghost. Proper gua sha is gentle. What these people were doing was geological excavation. They dragged the stones so hard they bragged about bruising, calling it stagnation leaving the body. No, that's blood pooling. And they insisted their jawlines looked sharper, which is easy to believe when your face is swollen in exactly the shape you want. It's like contouring with inflammation. Truly inspirational. 31. And finally, my personal favorite, beauty breathing. A technique where people take exaggerated breaths to oxygenate wrinkles from the inside. I watched a woman inhale like she was preparing to inflate a bouncy castle, claiming she could feel her fine lines release. Meanwhile, she was just getting lightheaded, which, infuriatingly, did make her face look smoother for a moment. Turns out, when you're close to passing out, everything relaxes, including your capacity for rational thought. If youthful skin came from dramatic breathing, every asthmatic kid in gym class would be immortal by now. After all that, I think it's safe to say humanity isn't losing the battle against aging. We're losing the battle against ourselves. If you've witnessed an anti-aging hack even dumber than these, drop it in the comments so we can collectively question our species. And hey, go vote for the worst one while you're down there. I'm genuinely curious which disaster takes the crown. Stick around, like subscribe, because clearly the madness isn't slowing down, and I'm absolutely coming back for the next round.